Thanks for your reply. I'm glad that you want to engage in this discussion, if just to really understand why we're disagreeing with each other, because I want to do that too. Um, and I think uh, it all started, because I may have strawmanned you a bit. Um, Looking back, I think, or at least in light of hearing your explanation of your positions and such in this video, I feel like I didn't understand what you were saying, and I understand it a lot better now, and I actually agree with most of what you said. Um, I want to say a little bit about epistemology and ontology, um, objectivity and subjectivity, and we don't necessarily have to discuss that stuff more than just me saying a few things about it in this video. I mean, it may usually be pretty boring. I might even agree with you, or at least it's just all been hashed out so many times that it gets boring, because there's no new territory covered. But before I get into that though, this thing about where individual rights come from. I called you a fundamentalist, you said, or I didn't really call you a fundamentalist, but I guess I did, because I was arguing against some hypothetical opponent, which wasn't really you, which I'm sorry about that. But you said that some things we just have to agree are givens, and that for you, individual rights, that you have a right to your own life, is just a given. And I happen to agree with you on that one. There's no more justification for that right which can be given. It just is so. But what I would say, and what I was trying to argue about how the community comes into all this, is that that principle is true because I agree with you. Not because you believe it, but because I agree with you. So it's an agreement between subjects. It's a communal value, in other words. That's my perspective on this. And it may be like a chicken before the egg thing, but I think it's a little more than that. And I know you're an atheist, even though I've watched some of your videos where you say, it's not that therefore science is the objective truth. You're not one of those sort of more reductionistic-minded peoples. You said in this video that you're not one to believe objectivity is possible or desirable, and I agree with that too. It doesn't mean we just fall back into this completely relativistic skepticism or nihilism where anything is true because it's just all opinion. No. And the problem with subjectivity and objectivity is they're not separate things, and breaking them up into this dichotomy almost requires that they be talked about as though they were separate things. And so, of course, you're just going to be completely confusing yourself whenever you get into a discussion about, which aspect of our experience is objective and which aspect is subjective, and, it's all a hall of mirrors, ultimately. There is subjectivity in objectivity and objectivity in subjectivity, always, forever. So in a sense, they are useless terms. But epistemology and ontology, though, are a little bit different. You said you gave up on epistemology, but I think what you meant to say was you gave up on ontology. The difference being that epistemics is basically what mathematics is about, what good science is about. In other words, useful knowledge is what epistemology concerns itself with. What is functional? What types of thoughts provide me with an instrument to get something done in the world? That's all science, mathematics, and engineering cares about. They have taken ontology and said, well, it's like you just think of cool ideas and argue endlessly because there's no foundation for any of it, so who cares? But I don't think ontology is that meaningless. I think it's the source of meaning, actually. And it's why I would consider myself a spiritual person. I don't call myself an atheist because, it's one of the attributes I would say partly describes my point of view, because I don't believe in the literal biblical God of Christianity or Judaism or any monotheistic religion. But I believe that we need to pay attention to the being of existence, of the universe, of the cosmos, the fact that the whole thing exists, that everything in it is part of this larger thing going on. Not only that, but this larger thing has a purpose. The idea of atoms being sentient is me trying to account for how this cosmos could have a purpose as a whole. Regardless of what I project onto it, it doesn't matter about me. I am here sharing something that already is intrinsically meaningful in itself. That's why I think the egg coming before the chicken, in the sense that the community comes before the individual, is important. I am here sharing something that already matters, regardless of whether or not I care or am here. It was here first. You were here first. Not you as an individual, but whatever it is that everything which is sentient in this universe shares when we communicate, that was here first, and we joined the conversation, so to speak. That's how I see it, at least, and I don't think you and I necessarily have to disagree on this. Maybe you do. Maybe I've still mischaracterized your position, or maybe you just disagree with the way I responded to what you had said in your video. But either way, let's keep it on a cordial level, because I just want to learn how to interact with another person's thoughts without clashing. Because we can disagree. I actually smiled when I heard you describing your disagreements, because it was like, I don't know, it not only did it rejuvenate a conversation between us, but it just enlivened my mind, because now I'm thinking, okay, there's a different perspective that I hadn't considered, and I can learn something from this. I can notice something new that I hadn't seen before. That's why I'm here, and that's why we should all be here, I think. So, I appreciate your response, and I'm glad you're coming back to deal with me, because I enjoy our conversations here and on Stickam, even though sometimes it's difficult, but I think we're making some headway. So yeah, thanks again, and let's see where it goes from here.